Thank you so much for being there in the previous two sessions. So now we are going to start our third session, which is a part of Vietnam, what is that? Yes, Vietnam Festival of Creativity and Design. So this is our third session. And this session is related to building trust and partnership and fostering strong client-agency relationship in advertising. So we have some amazing guests with us, and we have tried to get three different perspectives from three different industries. So we have Mr. Saby Mishra, who is the group CEO of Mullen Low Mishra. We have Mr. Loy Hong Ung. Did I say it correct? Okay. Perfect Vietnamese. My wife will be proud of me. So he is in brand e-commerce and digital transformation leader at Procter & Gamble. You're also managing director. Media director for Procter & Gamble. Yes, getting there. And of course, we have Mr. Sudarshan Saha, who is the managing director at Essence Mediacom Vietnam, one of the top media companies in Vietnam. So I would request all of you to please come on stage. And Mr. Loy is an ex-RMIT. He's an alumni. Why ex-RMIT? He's an alumni. Yes, please. I'll be sitting here. Right. So we thought that this combination will be interesting. You know, and I think thank you, probably Sudarshan. Thank you for the suggestion that you gave, which is to have different perspectives for creative, media, and then client. Yes. Yes. So without further ado, we are going to start the session. So this will be a panel discussion where I will be asking questions, and then you can answer from your perspective. And then, of course, towards the end, we will have a question and answer session. So I would request all the guests to please ask any questions. We are recording the session, so we will have the recordings probably in another 2 or 3 days, which we'll be putting on the website of Vietnam Festival of Creativity and Design or on the Facebook page. Also, I will be, and we in RMIT will be using this as a study material for our students, because our students also study client management, and I think this will be a very interesting session for that as well. Yes, milking it. Yes. Right. So, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing. I know how busy all of you are, and it's a Friday evening, and deciding that you're accepting the invitation. That's really makes this event even more special. So, I want to start with my first question. So, what do you think? What are the key elements that contribute to a successful long-term client-agency relationship, especially in the communication industry? So we can start with you. Yes. So we have the mics. Yes.
Check. All right. So interesting questions. I think in order to have a successful long-term client-agency relationship, first we need to have a partnership. That's the easy question answer. Now, as you think as partnership, right? What is in it? Their partner that is on the ship, right? So there is two elements. Well, when it comes to partner, how do we find who is the right partner? I think it's going back to the very basic fundamental, which is trust. How do you have a trust between two parties or two persons in order to become a partner and a ship? Now, as you are on a ship, that means that you have to have the same vision, the same direction on where you want the ship to head to. For example, if we have two people on the ship, one swim on the left and the other one goes on the right, you will end up staying the same things, or the boat will drown. So this is where I think in order to have a successful long-term client-agency relationship, you have to start with the very basic fundamental of having a strong partnership.
Okay, is this working? Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks. Good question. So, first of all, thanks, Samik, for setting this up. And I think this is an incredibly controversial topic. So it's really very I think it's good you picked this topic. My view, I've been in the industry for close to 30 years now. I worked in India, worked in CEE, South Africa, and then in Southeast Asia for longest time. I've run agencies in WPP and IPG, and then I have become entrepreneur. So I've sort of gone the full circle bit. So this is an interesting thing. First of all, I don't think I would not call it a relationship. I think it's more of a partnership, okay? Partnership because each one has to do something here. And there is a shared end result. So it's not, relationship can be not necessarily so transactional. So it's a partnership, something has to be achieved, both partners have to do something together, and they have to go out there and get it, make it happen, all right? So that is first and foremost. Second, I think the fundamental thing, and I think we all practitioners would agree that an agency, and when I'm saying an agency, it is not just a creative agency or a media agency or whatever, SEO agency, any agency which is a service provider, I would sort of loosely call it a marketing service provider to a client company. It's something that the client cannot do inside their company, but these days they are doing some of it. We'll come there later. It's an interesting point. So I think it's about people. I think this big thing about this partnership, which is often we forget, and I remind myself a lot of the times when we get caught up in the rigors of doing business, that it's about people, it's about having chemistry, and it's not about just delivering XYZ, it's about really taking that to the next level, and that's when it becomes a really win-win partnership. So to me, I think these are some of the things which are critical at a sort of overall level. Of course, I mean, when we get into aspects like what really makes it, I mean, there has to be a shared vision, there is a compensation part which is very critical, that it's fair, feedback, letting people know on time, both sides, how it is working or not working, so on and so forth. But I think these are some of the overall dynamics of a partnership, not a relationship. Agency-client partnership.
Thanks. I think I'll just build on what Loy and Saby just shared. I think with PNG, I've joined Mediacom, Essence Mediacom about 2.5 years back. And PNG has been part of us since 2012. So we have a very long partnership. So
Great.
I think both of us can talk on behalf of. So I think, long-term successful thing is not necessarily devoid of challenges and pain. Same like marriage. I know you just got married.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So any long-term relationship or partnership is always, anything long-term is always filled with lot of struggle, challenges, pushing each other. Because if anything long-term is not a happy thing. Because if it is happy thing, then we are very transactional in a way, So I do believe there are maybe 2 or 3 things which are important as I reflect back on the PNG Mediacom relationship. One is, of course, changing with time. Because in the advertising and communication industry, it's one of the best industries to work in. Because in the last 12 years that we have been together, I think the advertising ecosystem has changed like 3 times over. And now as we speak, it is changing again so much that yesterday I was in an e-commerce workshop where, the topic was live streaming. And I said, when I was a student, live streaming meant how to watch sports matches live streamed, which is not allowed in, my country because, it was not yet so advanced that, international message. So from live streaming, which is like a content streaming, now if you talk to anyone and say live streaming, the first thing comes to mind is shopping, right? So things are changing so fast that in order to be successful long-term partnership or relationship, ability to adapt and change at the same pace for both sides is one of the key aspects of long term. Okay, and second, I think I think trust is innate to any transaction. When we buy any product also, even if I am not loyal to a brand, there is a trust I carry that this logo stands for certain quality standards, and that's why I'm buying into it. That's why I'm in the consideration set also. So I think trust is innate in any transaction, whether monetary or non-monetary. So that's a given. So I think pivoting and proactively changing and being able to be ready together for what's coming up next in the marketplace or for addressing consumer demand is one of the key criteria, according to me, for a long-term successful thing.
Does the criteria change a little bit when you're talking about a creative agency and a media agency? Because, we are also going to touch upon that topic also in a little while. But what do you think? Like, does it also change in that perspective? Is media relationship or partnership a more longer game rather than partnership with an agency?
See, I think there are differences. Of course, there are differences. I think overall, the tenure of relationships between agencies, creative agencies, and sort of clients has been going down. So effectively, it's always sort of there's a lot more short-termism that is happening. All right, clients are and it's also a function of a bunch of things. The average lifespan of a brand manager is about 2 years.
Brand manager representing the brand from the client side.
In a client side. He or she is in that job for 2 years. I mean, let's face it, she or he have to deliver something within 2 years and get out and move to a new role. So I think there is a pressure from the client or brand marketing people, and that is a function of, it's not their fault, it's how their companies are structured, that they have to also deliver results at a quicker pace. B, clients are also sort of, they try to, they often when they feel that they're not getting a certain level of success from one agency, they would like to go out and get and try to do that with another one. And there is sort of that sort of extreme level of short-term play that is happening, which has a downside, but it also has an upside. So I think, first of all, we should all, the industry people and all the young people here who are, working in this industry, we should get used to the slightly short-term aspect of the industry. It is no longer, back in the days when we started, I remember a client at Unilever, I won't name names, he's a big guy globally now. He used to say that if you anyone who comes to the Unilever meeting in Mumbai, and if you are I was to work in an agency called Lintas, which is called Manan Low now. He used to say, you don't open your mouth. You are not allowed to talk until you have done 100 hours in the consumer home. So everybody who joined on that business, which is OMO actually, which is called Surf Excel in India. So everybody is given a passport in the agency. And every time they're spending time at the consumer home with consumers, not meeting people, going to consumer home in the rural area, looking how they wash their clothes and how they, use the product and hand wash and in the river or whatever, eating like they do and sitting on the floor. Now, that client was insistent upon the fact that if you do not do 100 hours, you don't have a right to talk in a meeting, because his belief was that then you can't add value, because fundamentally, I think creative agencies, okay? Media agencies are a slightly different game, and Sudarshan is a master of that. He'll speak about that. But creative agencies, look, clients have everything, all right? Clients have the technology, they have the fund, they have the resources, they have the best brains, they have the money, they have global reach, they got the works. Why do they need a creative agency? Some of them are actually having in-house creative agency. I'll go there. But the only reason, I tell this to my people all the time, is that they have a creative agency because the one thing they miss is that how do you really relate to consumers as people in the culture they're living in? As long as a creative agency is delivering that, is bringing a new perspective on consumers as people and with the culture as a perspective, I think the value is getting added. So I think the moment that starts to get shaken, I think clients also get rattled, and then they are looking at other agencies so therefore yes, things are getting more about work is more about projects now and less about long-term relationships. But which is a good thing, because agencies like us, for example, we take advantage of this to get into, for example, if P&G has a globally aligned creative agency, their short-term approach enables us to get in there with an alternative point of view, and chances are that they will look at it today than they would have done 10 years back. 10 years back, they'll say, don't even come here. We're not part of your global network. But now, they might. I'm not saying P&G will, but I'm saying just give an example. So I think it's a good and bad thing. So I think, like you said very nicely, Sudarshan, that embrace the change, go with it and take advantage of it and make it work for you. I think that's why. But yes, in general, it is coming down. And I don't think it's going to change back in very quickly.
Traditional.
No, I don't think so. Yes, there is global alignments and all that. But generally speaking, clients are wanting, the relationships are getting shorter, more shorter and shorter, which is building a different kind of pressure, but that's a different conversation.
Great, thank you. So a question to follow up that is that what do you think are the current trends in communication and marketing that are impacting the client-agency relationship? What are the currently, what is happening? And how is it? Like, for example, AI is there, like everybody is talking about AI. You also raised a small point about the in-house agencies, right?
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to know about the different perspectives about that. Aloy, can you, what do you think about this?
I can wrap it up.
Okay.
Sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll build on this question.
Yes,
I think AI is going to change the way we are structured in the industry. I'll give you an example. Current emphasis is on knowing the skill set or knowing the certain methods or knowing the technicalities. So all of this is bucketed into what we say as knowledge work. Okay. What is AI, generative AI going to do? AI has been in place when we use AI for now more than 10 years. Generative AI is shifting the focus from knowledge worker, where the system will help answer, system will help shorten the process of discovery, provided you know what to ask. Okay?
The right prompts.
Yes. So that's why the whole, let's say, last 30, 40 years of college education, university education was designed to train us in knowledge, and then internship and work or management traineeships equipped us to become superior in certain knowledge, to deliver certain work which is needed from the different departments. Now, many of those are getting reshaped. So one example is that, let's say a media plan needs the person to know a particular sequence of steps, not to miss out on any steps, and then generate an output given from a given brief, and using a system to generate it. So get trained in the system, know which filters to apply or which criteria to apply, and then generate an output, and then do it iteratively through multiple layers of discussions and feedback in order to arrive at a solution. Now what is happening is all of this, the projects which are underway at our global hub is converted into asking question, answer comes out in 1 minute. Asking another question, the revised answer comes out in 1 minute. So can you imagine a process of a month or several days is getting crunched into few minutes? one of the most beautiful thing is, because there are many systems at play to generate an output, if you unknowingly make a mistake, there is a sense of doubt, or I won't say mistrust, but there may be creeping in doubt that did you do the most right thing to do and stuff like that in the client's mind. And that client can be me. I have worked in the client side. So it's but natural that if I come and open a system and generate some output, I will think that is it really the best you could do. Now in generative AI world, this discovery process of prompt and answer is a collaborative process. You sit together and find out. And that's why I feel that thanks to generative AI tools and tech, it will create more trust, more speed. And hence, the way university education today exists, the curriculum and the way we teach will undergo a sea change when it comes to marketing communication. You can build on it from a creative part.
No, I think, and
Thank you.
said it. I think, okay, so AI is here, right? Generative AI is here, and our people are already, in fact, I didn't realize our people are using it until they were, in Vietnam, the young people are incredibly adaptive to new tech, and they had acquired it without, I didn't know that, and I realized that we are going for a meeting, I think at somewhere, I think Nestle or something, and normally when they would go for a meeting for a new brand or something, they would have, a strategy and a creative strategy and material and television stories and content, all sorts of content and key visuals. And normally they would go for a brand, they will have 3 or 4 key visuals. On this meeting, they had about 11 at a very short time. So I asked the guys, how did you do that? They kind of smiled and said, Saby, AI and all that. So that's when I realized, quite some time back, but thanks. The way I look at it, it's a tool. The way Adobe Suite is, when I started working back in the days, really back in the days, there was no tech, there was no computer, there was no email. Forget about smartphones. There was no computer, MacBook. MacBook, I got 10 years, or laptops we got 5-7 years into working. So artists used to sit in the agency, like 20 or that. They would literally by hand paste. It's really hard to explain this to you guys, but to paste, if they're making a print ad, they would design the thing, take out the material by a rubber solution at night, they would paste it, they would rub it. It was like a industrial foundry work inside an agency, physical material. Today, what we have is Adobe Suite. It's like AI. So generative AI is actually the next level for me in that. It's basically a smart tool. So if you are a creative director, and if you have generative AI, it's like you have one additional brain or 2-3 other brains, and you're working super fast and you're getting a lot of new ideas. That's how I see it. So this is a creative agency. I don't know what's happening in the other industry, but this is really making things faster, giving a lot of newer ideas to people. But at the end, the creative guys still have to be creative director. The AI cannot become the creative director. It can be the creative, not the creative director.
That's why probably the clients are still not replacing it with the creative houses yet.
Probably.
I just wanted to provide a simple ways of looking at this, right? So just to give a very direct answer to your question, what are the trends that is shaping the communication that I put creative media together as communication industry? For me, there are 2 trends. One is on generative AI or AI in general. That should have mentioned, and I won't go into explaining what AI is. And the other one is actually UGC or creator content. That is as we see, is a threat to the creative agency. Now, as I think of AI, these 2 and creator or UGC content, I see it more as an opportunity for us to adapt into this very competitive world and evolve our partnership. The reason why I'm saying that is when it comes to AI, what I see as a benefit for AI is that AI is very smart when it comes to optimization on doing the daily things that perhaps a human can, perhaps, for example, as we look at the media optimization, maximum a human can optimize a campaign for 8 hours, but AI can do it on a real-time basis, very effective and efficiently. Now, what AI cannot do is to completely replace human when it comes to strategy planning, and that is my sole belief. Maybe it's only relevant in a short amount of time, but at this moment, AI cannot replace human when it comes to strategies and planning. The reason why I'm saying so is only a human brand and a human being can understand all the local nuances and the nitty-gritty details of what happened in order to have the right planning and the right strategy at the moment. So AI, to say, it can help us to optimize better on the repeated things that we do, but cannot completely replace human when it comes to planning and strategies at the moment. So that is on AI. Now moving on to the creator, and this is where you see that a lot of the creative agency is questioning on whether there's still job left for the agency. The reason why I'm saying this is as you log onto Google, on YouTube, on Facebook, or even on TikTok now, you will see a lot of people are actually the KOL and the creator themselves. Using a simple tool that is offering by the platform, now they can create a very attractive and interesting content for the brands without touching a lot of touching base on a lot of creativities involved, as well as a huge production cost involved when it comes to creative creations like in the past. Now, the problem with that is that each and every creator have different mind. So when it comes to creative, it can go in a lot of different ways. Only we have the right creative umbrella, and this is where the creative agency come in, right? What is the big idea? What is the umbrella of the whole campaign for us to connect back to the brand objective and the brand benefits? This is what the creative agency role for me will do in this emerging space, whereby UGC and creator content become much and much more important.
Great. And what about the in-house agencies? Because we see a lot of big brands, and probably, correct me if I'm wrong, Procter & Gamble also has an in-house agency, right?
Had and came out.
Yeah.
P&G, if I'm not mistaken, went in this thing and they stepped out of it.
Okay, so...
Yeah. So as P&G, we have a belief that we only do best when it comes to serving our consumer with our products. We are not the expert when it comes to creative. We are not the expert when it comes to media. So that is why from P&G and my point of view is that we look for the best resources available out there coming from the creative and the media agency to work with us on creating the perfect communication plan that touches the consumer. So that is where P&G will always be. We will always be there to serve our consumer with our product, but not going to the lengths of doing the job of the creative and the media agency.
Yeah, I think, good point. So I think when it comes to in-housing, my view I'm like hardcore creative agency guy. I am, and a lot of people in creative agencies become quite annoyed with this whole in-house agency thing, but I don't think it's such a big issue. I'll tell you why. It actually makes the creative agency's job easier because the in-house agencies are there to do certain kind of mechanical, more routine type of social media driven work, which is super low cost. As a creative agency, I don't want to even touch it. Okay? So they're doing the low end work, and it's better that they sit inside the client organization. Because they have proximity to the brand people, they can really sort of go work with them fast. They can do it cheap, and they have this thing. That is not so much innovation-led work, and we are pretty okay with that. There are certain kind of industries, there was a guy called, there was one of the hottest creative directors whoever I worked with in Vietnam. I hired with an American guy from New York called Bob Cohen 10 years back, whatever. He did some of the most outstanding piece of work on on Veena Milk and all that, which you probably were not born when it was happening, or probably may have seen. I called Bob 4 years back, just before this thing, and I just want to chat with him, and I said, where are you? And he said, and then he went back to New York, young guy, single, young, incredibly smart, several-time Cannes Lion winner, and he had gone back to Goodby Silverstein, which is one of the hottest New York-based creative shops. He tells me, and he was there, I thought he was still there. He tells me, I'm in PayPal. I said, what? Why in PayPal? Bob Cohen. Are you kidding me? Are you the real guy? He said, yes. I said, what happened? He said, you know what? My mother wants me to buy a house, and they put a golden handcuff on me, and blah, blah, blah. But turns out, he said that, look, and then we got talking about it. He said there are certain kind of companies, like tech companies, they have certain kind of work that to explain to a creative agency, and by the time they get around to it and all that, is super hard. It's better that kind of work is done in-house. You get a bunch of creative people who are okay to work inside a creative agency, a client agent, like a client company. Not all creative agency people are. Because some of the creative people, they love the vibe of a creative agency, because, being inside a client office and being inside an advertising agency, creative or a media agency is different. So but that's okay. Some businesses need that. Retail companies, Target, needs in-house. You cannot go for a small release on Sunday for some chairs to be sold to a creative agency, then they'll say, give us a brief, then they will go off on a tangent for like next 10 days. Doesn't work. So I think efficiency of in-housing is great. At the same time, it's very important that, I think both are coexisting. I think to each their own. From some clients, it's working. That's fantastic. For some clients, they believe in having outside agencies because they get fresh ideas. They want the people to always come in with an outside-in perspective. That is, they're not living inside and thinking like them. They want people who are thinking differently. So that works when there's not non-in-house agency. Yeah, so that's how it works. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So let's move forward to the next question. And you, I think, touched upon it. It's about the project-based model. And so what do you think about that? Because what are the merits and what are the demerits of this particular model? I mean, Saby already has spoken a little about it.
Yeah.
But both Saby and Sud have touched base on this, so I just wanted to provide my perspective as well. When it's come to project-based model, right? It's exactly what Sud just mentioned. That is, the relationship is very transactional. And for me personally, I don't like transactional relationship at all, because this is rather a quick fix. Rather than it is rather a quick fix, not a long-term partnership for me. It's like going on Tinder to meet the guy or girl for one night. So that is how my point of view on this. Now, now talking about Pinch's perspective, we value and we trust, we values a lot on long-term partnerships. So that is why we have this strategy we call incumbent agency, whereby as we work with xnme.com for the past 12 years, whenever there was a rising need when it's come media, we'll go to xnme.com. When there is a rising need that we heard that me.com can provide a solution, we'll go also to me.com. And this is where we wanted to work collaboratively with the agency as our partner to step into new capability that can become an advantage, a point of difference for us in the future. Now, having said so, we also open the door to newcomers or new partner, whereby there's a specific capability that is not able to be provided by our incumbent agency. Well, this is where we'll invite newcomers to come in. And this is where we get the best from the market offering to serve our business.
And there's also a trend that, because with so many pitches happening right now, agencies are also demanding pitch fees.
Pitch fees has been
there. So is it like, what is your thought about that? Like, of course, it makes sense because you're putting so much time and effort, but a lot of clients also don't want to do that when they're. going for pitch?
So I think, look, I mean, let's talk at an overall sense. One is the Vietnam industry versus this thing. So Vietnam industry, the general.
Saby, can you use the mic because we are
Sorry.
recording? Yes. Yes.
Sorry, guys. I was saying that we need to take a look at a perspective which is about the Vietnam industry, and then there is an overall industry perspective as well. Because there are certain practices in Vietnam industry which is quite different from the other industry. One of the things is that Vietnam communication industry overall, marketing services, doesn't really have a strong, it doesn't even have an official association, doesn't have a body, okay? Which is pretty unusual, which is not the case in most other, sort of markets of the size of Vietnam, Indonesia, or this thing, definitely in the bigger ones they have. So now, it works both ways. So when there are projects which are happening, I think it's all project-based. I think definitely the commitment level of agency is much lower, because then they are not really going to invest their best into that, because they don't know, there's a lot of unpredictability. They go in, the client is going to bid them down on the cost, and why should they invest in the thing? The thing that is always dangled by clients, and I'm not sort of saying it with any rancor, is that, hey, if you win, then you are going to win more business from us. It doesn't always happen. It doesn't work that way, because you are probably constantly pitching, and there are plenty of agencies which are willing to do anything to go out there and because they are they just need
Stretch themselves too.
they will do anything. I'll just say this because we have live recording. They will do anything to go out there and get the business, and it helps the client. So no one is complaining. But I think that's a wrong thing to do. And that is something that the clients, let me just put this for the sake of good record. When it comes to the agency-client partnership, the leader has to be the client. The clients cannot say we will not lead. They have to set the standards. They have to make sure that the industry is also, benefiting the other side. Everybody is winning. It's a win-win. That's only the clients will win. But I think projects are squeezing agencies by and large, I must say. And then agencies are not doing their best, because if an agency is there and if they have two clients which are, let's say, retainer clients or ongoing commitments versus one-off projects, by far the agencies they will put their best people on the longer term partnerships, by far. And I am the owner I run an agency, obviously it makes business sense. To the project people, you give them, whatever is available and you go with that. Of course, everybody tries to do their best. The second thing is related to is also remuneration, because remuneration is linked. The reason why clients are going into project-based is because they want to beat down the cost. And when they have 5 agencies competing for one campaign, obviously they're going to get a better rate than otherwise. So there is a bit of that happening. So I think somewhere clients also need to start to signal that, hey, I really value the work and I want to compensate, because the clients, I would say that when you're creating content or when you're creating an idea, whether it's a user or an agency, whoever does that, what are you creating? You're creating IP, right? The product is there. The brand is owned by the client. You are creating IP. But IP has to be valued. And it should have some criteria of valuation, of course. It should not be that anything that comes out of an agency should be paid at a certain rate. But I think compensation is a big issue in our industry, controversial issue in our industry right now. You must be reading about it, but it's related to the project thing. And I think it is something that is causing a lot of, I would say, pain for a lot of agencies. I'm not too sure this is helping everybody. And coming to pitch fees is not the norm is the norm in many countries. Clients, especially the MNC clients, when they call agencies for a pitch, they have to pay a pitch fee. But in Vietnam, some do, there are exceptions, but many don't. they get away with it. And agencies are okay. No one makes a.
That's where the body is important, to have that one body to
Yeah,
kind of
I think
represent
so.
the
I
agencies.
think so.
Right.
I have a build on this. While you were talking, I was thinking. I mean, I know there are some academicians here. There are some people from academic background here. So, correct me if I'm wrong, they say everything can be linked to economics, including how much sex people are having can also be linked to the economics, right? So I think there is something parallel from, let's say, there is a advertiser here and agencies here. There's something very similar to what a advertiser goes through in their product portfolio and their consumer, and us with them as a client. Let's say a big advertiser like Procter & Gamble would have invested a lot of time, resources, energy over many years to develop a product, and then goes into the market and has a head start for maybe 12 months, 18 months. And what we see is the prevalent trend is, given the current progress in industrialization, access to knowledge, access to technology, it's very easily replicable, and there are in-store brands which come up and they provide kind of similar smelling product. May not be as effective, but who cares? At least smell for 2 years, it's good enough. And those, let's say, in-store brands will compete at much, discounted price. And that's something maybe, not only Procter & Gamble, all big corporates and brands are, have to. And we have to, as in the advertising industry, we have to go through the same thing. So we come up, let's say, in a media agency, we come up with a, we see the progress in a new platform. And it takes maybe some investment with tech players to make it suitable for advertising, safety, making them, those inventories part of the measurement system, pushing many players into coming to a forum where, coming to a platform where it is now can be equated on like-to-like basis, so that we can make it part of the advertising ecosystem for large clients. It's a 2-3 year journey. I have had that journey in Vietnam, where I've worked with telcos and TV channel platforms, OTT platforms and all. 3-4 year journey. And then 1 year journey to convince clients to be onboarded. And then what happens? No. There'll be new fringe individual entrepreneurs who will see it as a commercial opportunity. They'll hire 1 or 2 people from the agency and go to the client and say, hey, you know what, I can do this in 30% less cost. And as he said, they can go to any length to convince client whether it is rational or irrational and get the business. But our pricing is based on the 5-year investment that we have done, and we foresee that this will last for another 3 years. So our pricing follows that model. But their pricing is like, come up with a store brand and compete with any big brand which is selling off the shelves. So that's where I feel project management not just is at a creative project or influencer project, but even at a platform level, there are a lot of these things happen. If, as he very rightly said, unfortunately in Vietnam, advertisers and agencies only meet for brand discussions. I have worked across 7 countries in Asia. This is the only country where not that they don't have the right intent, but it doesn't happen that we meet for industry discussions. And all other countries, then the advertiser representatives across several large players, SMEs, agencies, research bodies, government, everyone comes together to create some guardrails, ethical way of working. Hey, I'm going to invest in this for next 3 years. Would you partner, or will you come? The next Charlie comes off the block and you go for it. So that's where I think the project mindset is there, because we are all challenged by economics, and everyone has to grow, and everyone has to show savings, everyone has KPIs. But somewhere it is counterproductive for everyone. So that's my build on what you guys shared. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, basically the next question was something related to that, but you have already kind of talked about the challenges that we face. So, if I have to ask you, like, who is your ideal client and who is your ideal partner as a client?
Now we have to, you don't leave us a choice.
They're actually working together right now. No, but ideal in the sense, like, what makes it ideal? Like, what are the things that makes it ideal for you?
Oh, you mean what makes an ideal agency?
Yeah, and yours, of course, from your perspective also.
For me, it will come down again to two simple words. One is an ideal partner, or an ideal agency for me will be the one that is competitive and is also collaborative at the same time. When it comes to competitive, I wanted my partner, my agency, to be the best in the market when it comes to their expertise. They need to have the best idea, big ideas in the market when it comes to creative with a lot of award winning. They need to be the one that, they need to be the media agency that understand the market best and tell us what we need to do now and for the future. So that is on competitive. Now on collaborative, as you work with the best, they also have other options. Not only the client have option, but agency also have option to choose which client they wanted to work together. So that is why when it comes to collaborative, this is where fostering a relationship is very important. And how do you foster a relationship? The only things to foster a long-term relationship is where it comes to trust. So this is where I truly believe that we need to have trust, ethical and honest relationship in order to foster trust. And this not only come on a day-to-day basis, but also in the difficult time where both the agency and the client, for example, in this particular moment, the economy is not doing very good. How do we understand each other situation and help each other to go through the tough time? This is for me the key. To choose an agency or partner that is competitive and collaborative at the same time.
I think for me it's very simple. I am very, very fortunate in my career to have only worked with clients who are long term. I was thinking, yeah, which have been long term with the agency. So perhaps I'm a good farmer. They say, right? So I've always been very fortunate that way, and I think the ideal client is someone who challenges you all the time. People in the audience who have worked with me also know I'm extremely demanding of my people and competitive. So I don't like a easy client. So I love a client who constantly is giving me new briefs and giving me tough things which I've never done. That really, because I'm married to my job, and not because of lack of options, but because I genuinely think that there is so much joy in advertising, and that's one of the reasons, despite being an engineer and despite having worked in banking, which is a very well remunerated industry, I still left those industries and rejoined banking because rejoined advertising is because there's so much joy in marketing communication business. And I'm sure that is perhaps the reason why you are here, she's there, and Somik also, flirts around, even though you're an academician, you flirt around, this sphere, because there's so much joy in marketing communication. And I'm sorry, I'm digressing a bit, but as a child, I used to love reading detective stories, novels, yeah? Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Sherlock Holmes, and all that stuff. And I feel that actually my job is same, because consumer insight in today's world is no less thrilling than, because there are many suspects. You create segments, then you see that, which suspect is going to work out, not work out, different signals, work with partners, fight with clients, fight with partners, push people into it. Then there will be a lot of hard block. But the joy of working in a competitive space only comes true if you have a client who is smart.
Cool.
If the client is briefs are dud and not demanding, no good work will get created, in this market or anywhere and will cease to exist. That's my point.
Good. I'll start with the other way around, which is the what do you say, ideal agency. And I would sort of refer back, there was a time when I actually left the advertising world and joined a company called Gillette as a brand manager. I worked there for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. I did field sales to brand management to all that. And I got incredibly bored. And I regret that decision. Sometimes, you know, my wife says you probably should have stayed on there and so on and so forth. I'd gone on a secondment, but I really missed my agency and I went back to the agency, which is interesting. But what it did for me is that it made me a much better advertising person because I saw the agency from the side of a client. And often agency people, and we think that, oh, clients are tough, they're demanding, they don't pay, blah, blah, blah. But we don't see some of the challenges that they have. And we think that communication, first of all, a lot of agencies, I used to think that communication and advertising is the only thing they do, brand people. No, they have a ton of other things, and this is just one of that. So I would say that, first of all, I've actually made a list of things, so I just don't want to miss out. Yeah, I did. So I think my ideal agency is an agency that is not confused between being a service industry and being servile. A lot of times, agencies, when I was in Gillette, we had 2 or 3 agencies, and one or two of them were really smart and they were good. They were service oriented, but there was a third agency, which was extremely servile. They used to be very nice and do all that, but they were just not really.
Say yes to everything.
Yeah, they would say yes to everything. It didn't work. I mean, that was not what it was not adding value. So that is one thing I would sort of advise all youngsters getting into industry, that yes, by all means, you're getting into a service industry, okay? So you're not getting into if you're getting into the communication side, but you know, try not to be so servile. You don't have to be. I mean, okay? Second thing, which is, I think, really critical in an ideal agency, that must understand the client's business. A lot of times I see today, and I see that I have a lot of people, they are there in the agency, they are doing the work and all that. You ask them, hey, how's the client sales in the last month, this campaign? They don't know. And they think, why are you even asking this question? And, simple things like, going to the factory visit. If there is a client who's making something, very rarely these days, I think factory visits are incredibly important. You get together with the brand team, you go understand how a product is made, and so on and so forth. Those things make a difference. That's one. Again, the clients probably should also take the onus. And something that has been forgotten, nobody even talks about it. You get the agency, you say, okay, do this project, and they just do it. But I think back to your partnership and relations, that is critical. And another thing is that I think agency people should try to stay a little ahead of the client. They should be 10 steps ahead of the client, really knowing about trends. I find these days, and there are exceptions, there are really smart people in my team who are ahead of the client, but in general, I find that clients, the young clients, are way ahead of the curve in terms of knowing what is going on, trends, media, blah. I think that is a real. So I think my ideal agency is somebody who's doing all these things. My ideal client, I have to put my list, is that, if a client, if you look at really iconic brands like Nike or like Under Armour, these are clients who always had a very smart agency in their arsenal for their brand dominance. Without a smart agency on your side, smart media agencies, all sorts of agencies, okay? I'm saying agency in the broader sense. You can't go out there and win this thing. So I think the ideal client for me is a client that first realizes that, hey, I really need to have a committed and smart agency with me, and I need to nurture that partnership. It's not going to happen overnight by throwing a brief and saying, okay, 5 agencies come and show me what you got. Ain't going to work. You got to work on that and really build that. You got to find, it's a tough job, You may find one, you may not find one, but when you find a smart agency, please nurture and keep it with you. Because if you lock it down, this is what happens a lot in the US, if you lock it down, that agency cannot work with your competitor. That's a competitive advantage. I think smart clients should understand that. Number one is that, the second point is that a lot of times I find the top people are not involved in communication and even in marketing. There are plenty of exceptions, but I have seen that the times, and I'm sure it's happened because you said on clients which are long-term these things, which the best work that comes out, the best relationship is when there is one guy, the client is a strong leader, he's really involved and he's really driving it, he's pushing, he's challenging, he's all that. So I think, and it's not being delegated. It's not being over-delegated down to this thing. And I'm not saying, people are not smart. But people are not smart or they should not be given responsibilities. But I think there has to be responsibility should be there. And they should. The other thing is that I think we talked about compensation. Market
Every time you mention compensation, he smiles.
Yeah, it's a big issue actually. This thing. Market visit, I don't see, and this is my observation across board, most agency people do that these days. And clients don't even push for it. They don't even make it happen. And I think that is really weird. I think agencies and client brand teams should be doing at least one market visit, especially in FMCG, and maybe also in other things. At least once a quarter, at least 2 or 3 times in a year. It's absolutely critical because it builds not only the understanding of what is going on at a consumer level. I mean, no matter how much consumer research data you're looking at, go out to the market, retail visit, 5 days, amazing. And then also, then it helps to have a shared vision with the client, between agency and client. If they're traveling out there together, and it's important to go, especially in markets like Vietnam, which is not only about urban. Vietnam, 70%, almost 70%, is rural, right? Yeah. It's incredibly important to go out there. I don't think that is happening. To me, the ideal client is who insists, hey, I need to take you, you have to go on a market visit every quarter. Should we talk? I can also talk about a few other things, but I think I have had the good fortune of working with clients who are long-term, relationships, partnerships. Unilever is one of our leading clients, an exceptional client, exceptional brands and products and exceptional marketing and really brilliant people. But I also we work with some really incredible startups in Vietnam. There is a startup company which is building a nutrition product from yeast, which goes into this thing, and there are a lot of smarter companies, and they have their struggles. My ideal client is a client that also pays the agency on time.
Oh, God.
There are clients who will say 180 days payment term and all that. I think that not good. Because agencies are small businesses. You must respect them as a business, as much as yours is a business, theirs is a business. They got to take care of their people. The work is really hard. They work late nights. Often they work weekends, not all the time. Personally, we don't encourage it in the agency. But I think clients should. Those are my things of an ideal client.
Ideal client. Wow. Thank you.
Just,
yes.
I cannot agree more on one point, is that if I see the advertiser of the year across all innovation and awards in Asia, at least, I was trying to recall, every advertiser or brand of the year are brands or advertisers whose agency partner is long-term.
That answers
it's just,
itself. Yes.
Because when he was talking, I ran through my mind last 6 years of MMA, Festival of Media, FEs, and I see all those clients are all the, have the long-term agency partners, and I completely echo, because the way you can come up with a solution and thinking on a long-term partner is very, very
you have
different
brand
from
ownership then as a person.
Because you are not being transactional.
It's a very good data point.
Yeah.
To foster innovation, what really is it, like a data point to indicate
Yeah.
what works?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're really contributing into the business. You are thinking beyond briefs. You are taking it to the next level. You're doing a lot more than what you would do if you're doing a short-term project. So, yeah.
Being a devil's advocate here, sometimes you also have your creative teams who are working on 3 or 4 briefs at one time, especially during the time of TET and all. You know, all the pitches happen all the time. Oh, yes, all the time. So how do you expect them to have that brand loyalty? You know, if they are always short on time on working on one project after the project or 2 or 3 projects at the same time. Yes.
So, do you mean creatives who are working on multiple briefs or
Yes, multiple briefs.
Same category, different brands?
Can be both.
Conflict.
Can be both.
So, as a rule, smart agencies, good agencies don't do that. They would not have someone working on competing, the same creative team or the same people competing on working on competing brands. I think that is really, I think that's a stupid thing to do. Okay, first of all, I mean, it's okay if you really have to. There are times when agencies have to have conflict brands, and there are really well-established conflict solutions to have separate people working on it, so that the sanctity is maintained between companies.
Especially when there are so many mergers happening recently.
Especially when there are so many mergers happening. I'm sure there are people. I mean.
But I think merger is nothing to do with conflict management because client teams are separate. It's not the brand.
Yeah.
And trust me, inside agency, each team competes so strongly with each other. It's super, at least very competitive.
So, but like I said, there are really well-established, well-accepted, globally valid norms of conflict solutions, which smart agencies have in place. So I don't think that is the thing. If it's happening in a sweatshop where something, probably it is happening, but again, it comes back, I don't know, to the whole project thing. The agency is going to say that, look, I'm just working on a project. I'm not doing it like Sudarshan said, I'm not having this relationship for the long term, so I can handle 3 or 4 other things. So why not? I got to look at my P&L and so on and so forth. So I think that's the other thing I was coming back to, that if you really have a smart agency, better to lock them down as your long-term partner, and by all means get what you want from them, but also give them what they want and keep it going. That's better.
Great. So moving to, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Moving to the next question. What can educational institutions like RMIT do to prepare its students to succeed in developing their knowledge, and need to fostering strong relationships, both from whether they're joining the clients or from the agency side?
I'd like to answer first. It's very simple answer. It's very easy to implement for all of you. Go on dates. If you're not dating enough, then you cannot be successful in advertising or client business. Seriously. Because forget business. It is about working with people you don't know, you have suddenly met, and you may not like everything they want or the way they are, but how to make things work. And I mean, I'm not asking you to marry them, but go on date, discover how different people think, different people work, their style. So that will enhance your adaptability as a individual. Okay, so that is something I'm putting the onus on the individual, not the institution.
RMIT as a dating place.
Yeah, and from the institution, I think for future, it is definitely, I think, integrating generative AI to help, because when all of you move to the workforce, whether in the advertising space or in the advertiser space, the tools will be ready. Trust me, in another maybe 12, 18 months, the way advertising works will be completely different. So it's very important that you are using those tools. And I'm sure RMIT is also a very large institution and changes may take some time.
No, we actually, as an institution, we encourage students to use it, but use it ethically. So, I mean, we can't stop anybody from using it. Everybody will be using it. But how to use it correctly? Like, of course, there shouldn't be any plagiarism. There should be originality. But you should use it. You know, at the end of the day, students should use it. And we acknowledge that, yes.
And the process of, I mean, I cannot emphasize any less about this. Process of understanding prompts and revising prompts again and again, if you play with it, you will become expert at it. If you treat it like a job or an assignment, you'll not become good at it, trust me. So you have to really play with it, and that will make you an expert. I mean, whether it is meditation or anything, right? You need to practice. So please practice as much as you can with all generative AI tools, because when you can do that, when you enter any organization, they're using some format of the generative AI tool, and then it will become much more easier for you to adopt that, whichever organization you join in future.
Yeah, no, very good point. I was listening to you. I think that's a very good advice. I would say, I mean, not just in building, having this mindset of participation. I think I'll sort of go back to saying that this is a people business. So never forget that. This is not about, if you really want to be, you know, transactional and do the A plus B equal to this and do that, I would say that, you know, look at other industries. And they are good industries. Everything is good, and depending on what you're this thing. But this is a out and out people industry. So you got to be really good at going out on a date and knowing about people, getting to know them. That's really critical. Getting the chemistry right, that is critical. Second, I would say know the client's business. I'm telling you, this is not such a tough thing. Clients have truckloads of data and information, and really, when you know the client's business and you know about the product, when you've gone to their factory, you know, obviously know about the consumer, you are at a cutting edge. The power that you will have in the work that you're doing will be way better than someone who doesn't have that. It's as simple as that. I would really sincerely request everybody who's getting into any part of communication industry, you're working on a client, know their business. Know their business as a business, not just as a communication. If you're getting into a fintech brand, understand how it works. How is the payment model? How is the tech working? How is the back end working? What's the revenue model of the client? When you know that, the edge that you will have in what you are doing is just amazing. You'll just be in a great place, I'm telling you. And the clients, smart clients, they will notice that. And you will be spotted immediately. And the rest will happen. You don't have to struggle too hard. So I think second. Third, just be always curious about things. I mean, it's something, I think you know this. A simple thing. Huh? Be super curious about things, why things work, why that way. Never give up. The day if you are getting into this industry and if you do not have a unusually high level of curiosity about people, consumers, how things are working, I would say just rethink that. But if you have, it'll really work for you and take you to a great place. I think RMIT students are really, you guys are, I work with a lot of the smartest people I've worked with in Vietnam. Some of these smartest people that I've worked and we are working with are from RMIT, I have to say. Big hand for that. And I always tell them this, that, you know, they are smart, they know the process, they know all what they need to know in terms of their fundamentals, the theory of communication, marketing and all that. Just remain super curious, and it just again fires you up to a different place. That's it?
Yes, Loy, you are an alumni, right, of RMIT. And also now you are like handling such a big business. So what do you think what was your experience when you were in RMIT at that time? And what do you think that we can do right now to kind of answer a lot of relevant questions that are there in the industry?
First of all, to start with, I think RMIT did a very good job. So that is why I ended up here, sitting next to these two experts, talking about how do we nurture relationship between client and agency. So great job to RMIT. Now, as I was to rewind my mind and see how I have a cutting edge when it comes to working with clients, working with agency, comparing to other people at my same generation is really what RMIT have done for me as a student. I have a lot of exposure working with different teammates that is coming from different backgrounds as of me. So I've learned on the very first day that I joined RMIT that I need to work with people in order for a project to be successful. And this, I think, is one of the most important factor that helping me to become a person who I am today. So that is one. Second one, I think, is what RMIT is doing now and can do better is how do we create more opportunities for the student to be part of the client management team, either from the agency side or the client side, so that they have the real life exposure of how the relationship gonna be. Sometimes it's gonna be very pleasant. A lot of times it's gonna be very shaky. But at least you as you've been through all these tough times by yourself, you will gain the experience yourself of how do you deal and foster relationship in different times.
Thank you so much. So now we can have the floor open for questions. So if you have any questions, please, you can raise your hands. Okay. We have a question from there. Yeah. I'll give you the mic.
So I have a question. So first of all, thanks for your grateful sessions. I have a question like when coming to the creativity, from my point of view, like creativity is like they don't have the standard to measure because everyone have their own background, their own culture. So I want to ask like the creativity in the client and the creativity in the agencies, is there different to like have the balance between them?
Just so that I understand your question is, do we have a measurement when it comes to creativity?
Yes.
Yes, we do. And we measure creativity's output based on the productions or the communication that you guys generate. So for example, TV copy. TV copy or the copy that we put on TV advertisement is also a form of an output of creativity. And how do we measure that? Is we give there is third-party company who doing a great job of that, whereby they show different advertisement within the same category. For example, for P&G, will show different advertisement of different brands within the laundry products to a consumer and ask them to grade on whether they remember whether the advertisement stand out to them, interest them, whether they remember the brand, whether they will consider the brand, and whether they will purchase the brand after they seen the copy. So this is one way for us to measure creativity's output by comparing our products versus our creativity product versus other brands in the market.
Hi. So I have a question about the pitching fee again. So, because our company is in a transformation period, so we are starting to move towards like retail B2C business, and we want to hire like creative agency. But then many creative agency ask for pitching fee, and from our senior management people, is make it very non-competitive. And because if we don't choose the agency, we won't use anything from there. So so we don't. I cannot justify why we have to pay pitching fee. So please help me.
If I understand your question, you are saying that creative agencies are asking for pitching fee, but your management is not comfortable saying that since we'll not use their creative, why give
But then we really like some of the creative agency, but because they always request pitching fee and we cannot pay them, so it's like, yeah, so we cannot choose them.
A couple of things. Why is your management, why do you think you cannot use those ideas? If you are calling 3 agencies or 5 agencies and you're giving them a brief, and if they are, let's say, obviously you are choosing some smart agencies, right? You believe they are good, whatever. You're not calling anyone who's there. So if they're coming up with some ideas, you can use them. Why can't you use them? You can. Number one. You can, to your question, that since we will not be using their ideas, why should we pay them? Correct? Is that the question you asked? No?
Yeah, so I think in our management perspective, it reduces the competitiveness in terms of pitching, like because it's like paying a consultation fee.
Okay.
So
Pitch fee is a very standard process and norm worldwide and in Asia. It's not a big deal. And even in Vietnam, by the way, now, a lot of agencies are paying, a lot of clients are paying a pitch fee. Why? To your question, why, right? Why they're paying is because of 3 things. A, the agencies take that pitch a lot more seriously. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you are a client and if you are calling an agency for a pitch and if you pay them a pitch fee, the agency will take your pitch a lot more seriously than another client who's calling for a pitch and not paying a pitch fee. Because they know that you become a lot more valuable to that agency. Clear? Do you understand what I said? Okay. Should I repeat? No, okay. Second is that the second point why the value is that the pitch fee is required is because the agency, when they are pitching, they are using some creative services, they are buying some stock images, and they are buying content from this thing, because everything is not produced inside the creative agency. So that costs some money. Now, they don't know whether they're going to get the business or not, but they are producing something for your company as a client. So you should pay for that. However, what you can do is that you can negotiate what is the amount. So, the amount doesn't have to be like $100,000. Pitch fees are not so high. It can be from 1,500 to 2,000 to 5,000, but it covers the cost of the agency in terms of the resources they use for the pitch. It makes your pitch look much more real and appealing and competitive for the agency, and you get a range of ideas that you can use actually.
So if by any chance, you have 3 agencies coming and pitching, and you like some aspect from agency 1, and you like some aspect from agency 2, but you choose agency 2, but then you tell your agency 2 that can you use some of the ideas from agency 1. Is that okay?
Absolutely illegal.
Yes.
Absolutely
Yes.
illegal. However, this is something, okay. I mean, there is something that should not get done and there is practice. So let's look at both quickly. So one is that agencies will come up with ideas. It's not that only that agency can come up with that idea. Sometimes 3 agencies can think similarly also. Ideas is ideas, right? Nobody has a IP on ideas. So, but the right thing to do is that for the client not to take another agency's idea and tell the other agency to work on it. Because if you really like agency A's idea, it's better, in my view, to appoint agency A as your agency. Because if they have the right idea, then they should be doing it. But then sometimes they might think that the agency has an idea, but there is some other criteria that they are not fulfilling. that's a different thing. But then I don't think it's a good idea to take ideas from other agencies and get in a pitch situation. And sometimes it can be risky also. And a lot of agencies do not give the right of usage to client before they sign a contract, even in a pitch. Many agencies, even we don't. We tell the client, this is legally not, this is a pitch, this is like even a real estate design company. Any design company, they would not just put something on the table and walk away for you to use it if they don't get selected. You have to pay them some sort of a usage right or something, or have a contract to take it off them to do it, and to do it in the legal and valid way. It's better to do it the right way, not steal their ideas.
So, moral of the story, that you go and tell your senior management that you can negotiate on a lower fee, and you can select probably not 10 agencies to approach, but you can select the best 3 that you think are the best, and just spend the money there. And then probably you can get the best result. Okay. Any more questions, guys? Yes.
Hello, my name is Nguyen. I'm the internship consultant from RMIT, actually. So actually, as my job, so I often, meet with students, have consultation with them. They're very basic question, and one of the most common one that I've met. I work with a School of Communication and Design students. So they ask the question that, so if this is one of my first job, one of my first internship positions, so which one should I choose, from client side or from the company, the business side? Actually, often my answer is that, based on your strength and based on your, what do you want to be an expert in. So you choose that part. But I think we have our distinguished panelists today. So I would like to have your comments on this. What's your take on this? Because I really want to have your opinion so that I can share to my students at RMIT. Yeah, thank you.
Right. So I also get that question a lot from my student. Yes, please.
I can take that question because I've worked in the agency, of course. I've worked with the advertiser, and I've also worked with the broadcaster. And I don't think there is any right and wrong, to be honest. Because when we are young and we are starting off, as I think one of you said, being curious and learning is the most important. And there is so much to learn. So much to learn. And I'm really, really seeing a lot of talent who work with me, even, let's say, 5 years back, their skill set, strength, and interest was in a particular domain. And those also within the same organization has changed. So please, there is no really, don't give it too much of a thought, as long as the organization they choose are organizations where people can grow their career, and these organizations are known to do good work in the industry. I think those are the only 2 criteria. Otherwise, I think there is so much to learn everywhere. Anywhere you go, you can learn. I mean, one of my long cherished dream was to do internship to make burgers in McDonald's, which is not yet fulfilled. But someday I will take a break and do it. Because there's so much joy and learning in churning out a burger in a minute, right? And I want to go through that experience to learn. So there's so much to learn. So it's just not too much. That's my thought.
I feel like I'm doing a pitch so that I can recruit more people joining the client side. But for me, speaking from a client perspective, I think the reason why I chose to work on the client side is, and there is no right or wrong to this answer, please, is that I feel I have control over a long process of launching a initiative or products. Whereby, for example, as I work on the creative or the media agency side, the impact that I'm making is only to a certain extent, that how do I get this product to be seen or to be bought by consumer. But as work on the client side, I can choose what products or what benefit that the product can serve the consumer, and then back to the back inside why the consumer need it. So I feel like as I work on the client side, I have my full impact through this whole process of launching an initiative or a new product and make it successful. So that is the reason why I chose to sit on the client side.
Great. So next time, if anybody asks you, then I also tell my students that, if you want to join an agency, then you need to love advertising. That's the most important thing. Then you go and discover. Then you go and see whether it's working for you. But loving advertising is very important. If you're just going there for the money's sake, don't even enter. It's a very difficult game to play. But if you love ideas, if you love discovering things, being curious, then try it out. See whether, you're being part of the culture. Are you joining in that culture and enjoying the process? If not, then you can always go to the client side. In fact, there are so many examples where people from agency have moved to the client side, and people from client side also have moved to the agency. So there is, like they said, no right or wrong answer. Yes, one more question. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's a very good question, actually. It's a fantastic question. I think, captured really good points. I just want to add one more thing. I think, and having now run agencies and hired about close to 10,000 people and worked with some really great people who have done exceptionally well, and some who have moved on and done other things, I think this is a very interesting question, actually. One is that I feel that, is my view, okay? I mean, this is not something that I'm saying. I feel that if the person has a very structured mindset, all right, they want to have a process, like they want to know what is after that, what happens. They really are not very good at handling ambiguity. Then go to client side. I think it's better. But if you love a bit of chaos, you're comfortable with chaos. You are okay. You can manage ambiguity. You don't get frazzled by it, because creativity is about chaos, right? It's not structured. Then you can choose communication, advertising space. So that's this thing. The second thing is that when you join the client organization, suppose you are handling, give me a product. Give me, let's say, Pantene shampoo. So you wake up in the morning, you're thinking Pantene. You go to the work, you're thinking Pantene. Lunchtime, you're thinking Pantene shampoo. You're thinking evening shampoo. Dinner time shampoo. Huh?
But for all you know, you're not using Pantene.
For all you know, you're not using it. But you're thinking shampoo. You go to bed thinking shampoo. Agency, you get up in the morning, you're thinking shampoo. By lunchtime, you're thinking of a credit card. By this time, you're thinking of a motorbike. This evening time, you're thinking a beverage. And at night time, you're thinking of whatever, probably a housing luxury product that is coming. So the diversity is there. So it's interesting. So if you need diversity, agency. If you need one thing and go deep into it and you love it, client side.
Just want to build on this. Sorry to extend this question.
It's a good question.
Yeah. I think I'll add two points. One is, I think you can just categorize between someone's intention to be a specialist and someone's intention to be a generalist. So that can give some structure. But when you are just in college, right, no way you know which way you want to go. That's why, but just for structure. Second, I think this is not my quote, but I read it somewhere and I really love it. In order to succeed in advertising, you need to have one thing must have, which is to face rejection. And that's why I encourage everyone to go on dates, because when you go on dates, you will face rejections. Not one, many. That's why I'm encouraging you to go on dates. You will face rejection. It really hurts when you're young, when someone doesn't turn up or stuff. I'm not telling my personal story, just in case. But it's very, very important, and he also touched upon it as a success factor in his job, is socializing. If you're not able to face rejection, you can never succeed in advertising, and perhaps in many other fields also. But to be very good in advertising, you have to face rejection, because you have to be passionate about ideas, and they'll get thrashed by the client for whatever reason. But it is, you cannot take it personally, and every day you have to get up in the morning and come up with the energy to come up with something new and go back to the client and try to, find a solution. So that's very, very important to me. Yeah.
I tell my students, kill the babies. Like your ideas are the babies, kill them. I know.
But I think it's interesting because if you are confused, I would say if you are really confused about, and a lot of people come in the agency and ask this because I've come for an interview, I don't know. If you are confused, because some people are very sure, they want to be in the client organization, they want to be banking, those are super cool. I think if they're confused, go to an agency, any kind of agency. Can go to a media agency, can go to a creative agency, this thing. You see a variety of things happening. You will know in a year or two what is your proclivity, what do you like, what you don't like, which category, and then you can move from there. A lot of smart client people, a lot of the smartest client people actually spent some time in agencies as well. So it gives you a wider perspective on a lot of things. So why not you take that? You go there, take a perspective for 1 or 2 years, and then you can figure out what you want to do.
Even within agency, you can join as a client servicing, and then you can see whether you are more comfortable in planning or you're more comfortable in probably finance or or media. Like I started with servicing and moved to planning, where I thought that I was much more in love with that. So it's a learning process. Yes, thank you. Yes.
I want to build up on that tension. So from both sides, partnership is good and long-term partnership is very good, but you need to succeed, and that's why you need to bring in disruption. So sometimes you offer the ideas that are too crazy for the client. Sometimes the client wants to change something. So I would like to hear, maybe with even some examples, how you deal with that. So how you deal with conflict and disruption, bringing the change.
How do you bring the conflict and disruption to the client? And
on both sides. So for example, you coming with idea that is not about the brief, but you really believe it's going to work. So it creates a conflict with the client.
Right. Well, so go for it.
I'm just reflecting on past few years. What I've seen is there are personalities who bring disruption. Process can be designed to bring new stuff, but new, I'm not saying good or bad, new or disruptive things happen when, irrespective of whether you're an advertiser or agency, your personality is something who brings that, rattles the thing. So you asked a question, how did it happen? Then to me, we consciously should have people in our team who are disruptors. That's my answer.
See, I think, fundamentally, when you work in agency business, so every campaign, every marketing, this thing begins with a marketing brief, and there's a creative brief, and there's a consumer insight, and there is a proposition. So that has to be the starting point. So as long as the ideas can be in a spectrum of disruption, they can be from 0 to 10. Now that is a function of how bold is the client, and also what's the state of the category in the market. Suppose the category is super bold and everybody's being disruptive, then obviously you got to push it towards 9 and 10 or those things. The category is kind of, you're talking to, certain kind of an audiences, then you got to sort of focus more on comprehension than on disruption. But it has to be grounded fundamentally on the starting point, insight, and the proposition. If those things are there, then even if you go with a disruptive idea and it is on brief, then clients are open to it, I find. And that's how they would sort of, but if it's, but sometimes if an idea is there that is like completely like out of whack, it's no link to the brief and it is this thing, then.
It's not disruption also.
Yeah, that is.
This is just a change.
For
That is
P&G,
difficult to
we
buy,
have
yeah.
the exact right word for that. We call it constructive disruption in P&G acronym. Now, why this
There's
is
acronym for everything.
Same RMIT also. RMIT also, yeah.
so constructive disruption for us is something that we normally don't do on a daily basis. This is disruption, but we do it constructively because it acts at the right, in line with our strategies and our mission for that we were aiming for. So this is not completely a disruption. This is really a constructive disruption in a way. Now, from a client side, how do we foster that from agency? As part of our job, what we do is we have 100% energy, right? We'll spend 70% of our energy on the things that is proven working, and that is matter most to our business. So that is the 70s of effort that will be spent on. The 20 effort that we'll spend next is on innovation, whereby we know exactly what this is the right innovation based on linking back to the consumer insight and what we have discussed, analyze strategy with the management and the agency. Now we keep 10% of our effort less. That includes effort, money, as well as times and resources in order to explore all these we call outside, that is crazy idea. But for us, we call it so that management will accept as classify as constructive disruption. So we make sure that we always cap out this 10% of our budget, 10% of energy, 10% of our time to work on these the next big thing that we believe that will be very meaningful for our business if we are able to qualify them.
Can you have an example?
If it's constructive disruption, we won't be able to share.
Work in progress. Okay, any more questions, guys? No? Okay, fine, great. So I think we'll end our very insightful, a little controversial, but lovely discussion. And I think I would like to thank all three of you for giving such interesting answers and making us more knowledgeable within this an hour and a half program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Really fun.
So we want to give a small token of gift from the organizers. So outside? Okay, so we'll go outside and give it.